Hey there, friend, it's Mark from Men Who Bullet. Thanks for hanging out with me in today's video, where we're going to be checking out the Papermind Blocker hardcover notebook. What I love about the Papermind and everything I've learned about them so far is they are focused on fountain pen friendly notebooks. Not just saying, hey, we're a fountain pen friendly paper, but really making sure that it actually is. They're testing out their papers on multiple different types of inks with different nibs to really make sure that you are getting the ultimate writing experience with their notebooks. I love that focus. I cannot wait to check this out with you. So let's go ahead, we'll do the top-down view, take a look at all of the features of this notebook and get into it, and definitely get in a pen test, because so often the fountain pens just don't do well. So now we know that we got to try out all of the inks to see how the paper does. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and check it out. This is from the Papermind, Paper Exotics. Love that. The whole idea here being all about notebooks and paper that's made for actual fountain pens. So fountain pen friendly, with great paper. So let's check everything out here. So this is from Papermind. This is called the Blocker Notebook. This is blocker paper. So we have blocker paper at 80 GSM. This is stitch laid flat Swiss binding. So we'll look at, when we actually open it up, at some of the binding there. Fountain pen friendly, 192 pages with a bookmark. So this is 120 by 165 millimeter hardcover notebook with a 5 millimeter dot grid. And then we've just got the branding here on the back, Papermind, the papermind.com, made in Portugal, the QR code for it. So let's go ahead and take off the band. So really nice, nothing extra on here at all. We'll open it up. Oh, look at that. Oh, cool. I thought it was like a bound notebook, but it is pretty nice. It like lays really flat here with the binding over on the right-hand side. And then we have all of the paper here. Open this up and get out your single bookmark. So there's all of your pieces. So the book itself is glued in over on the side here, you can see. And then your whole thing is bound up here. So there's no extra covers or papers, which is honestly pretty great, because we can do our pen test right on this first page here that I really like. With this, if you were using this, you'd want to break in the binding so that you can get all those flat pages in here. So just every few pages, open it up, pressing it down to make sure that you're getting that. But we're going to just go ahead and use it this way. So because of this paper, everything's kind of calling for fountain pens. I'm not going to do my normal pen test, which is like throwing everything at this, because most of the time fountain pens will bleed through most of those notebooks. I might bring in just a handful of my other favorites and the ones that always just bleed through paper, because I do want to also just check to see how this blocker paper, this 80 GSM paper, really actually handles things. But I'm most interested in the fountain pens. So I've got my writing box here that I got from Kellen Leather, and I have been keeping all of my fountain pens in here. So I have my one fountain pen from Lavenger. And then I also have, this is my very first one, my Lamy. We're inside of here. So we'll be trying out both of these today. I've got a few different inks in my Lamy. I already have the black Lamy ink that's inside of here. Inside of the Lavenger, I have the cobalt blue ink that's already loaded up inside of there. And then I also have my calligraphy nibs over here. And so what I thought I would do would just be to take, I just love the way the mono lines look. So I'm going to just take this this B5, and we'll use that with just like our dip pen here. And we're going to use one of my fancy ones. We're going to use one of the ones here, Midnight Twinkle. This is just really nice from Birmingham Ink, so we're going to use that. And then I also have my fluid writer here. It's like one of my favorite things ever in the entire world to write with. And then I just have our black ink here, which we'll just load it with just to do some quick writing with. It's always dangerous with a lefty and inks, but you know what? I've got everything handled. I've got paper towel ready to go when we need it. We'll just kind of have some fun and trying it out. So really excited to see how the paper does. So hopefully my fountain pens are in good working order. It's been a minute since I've used them, just because the paper that I've been using recently in my Archer and Olive notebooks, it feathers. It doesn't work out great. I don't know if it's the ink. It's probably the ink, but you know, the pens and everything else. So we're just going to do kind of, I don't know, just do the mark, the uppercase, lowercase lettering. So this will be with black Lamy ink inside of the Lamy. And let's just do Papermind. We'll just write Papermind. Okay, so nice smooth writing surface. You can hear the pen, which is like one of my favorite parts around using fountain pens, is listening to that nib go across the paper. But with that Lamy ink and that Lamy pen, no feathering, it's holding on there really nicely. After we write with everything, we'll flip over and see how the paper's doing, but because it is fountain pen ink, I want to make sure that it's holding on okay. So this is going to be the Lavenger here. This one is called the True Writer. I think it's an absolutely stunning pen, and I want to use it more, but for whatever reason, the pen plus the ink just sometimes doesn't play nice with a lot of paper, so I don't get to use it as much as I want to, but let's see how it does here. I think a lot of the time it doesn't do great. I'm so used to like my really extra fine point, and this is just a fine point, so it ends up getting more ink on the page than not. So I'm not a fountain pen aficionado by any stretch of anyone's mind, so I can't answer all of the questions, but I do know that this one tends to work differently on different papers. So I can't really tell again if it's the ink or the pen, but this one here does have a little bit of the feathering that's happening, but it's only happening over here. Everywhere else, it seems to be doing pretty good. So not sure why that's causing that there, but the ink is still sitting on there. I can see it's still drying. It makes me nervous. I'm just going to sit there, let it do its thing. I'm going to go ahead and I'll use this, again, I'll use the B5 just on this calligraphy pen here. And I'll just use the Midnight Twinkle. So this is a really nice one, again, from Birmingham Inks. And it's so nice. So it's like this really nice, like dark color, but it has a little bit of like iridescence to it. And I never know what to expect from these at all, but let's do just some lettering. Let's just... I usually do not have good success, but this is working really beautifully. Set that off here to the side. So as you can see, it has a little bit of sparkle to it, which is really nice, but no feathering with this one at all. So just really like it. Now that I'm looking back at the Lavenger ink on here, and again, I'm starting to think it's the ink, not the pens, you know, just because of how it is. Maybe I'll just try it real quick with that dip pen again to see like which it might be, but I am seeing a little bit of feathering happening there, but it's not happening for the other two. So again, probably ink versus like the paper, but the paper is handling it really well. Beautiful, love that. Let's go ahead and try that real quick. Let me just see if it's just the ink. And again, far from an aficionado on inks, but so maybe it is just the pen. That ink seemed to go okay on there. We'll wait a second. we'll see what it really looks like after a minute or two of that. In the meantime, let's try the fluid liner. One of my favorite to use. It's so versatile because you can use ink inside of it. You can put watercolor inside of it. Really anything you need. And let's just attempt to put just a little tiny bit. So I'm not doing like a full project. That's how we do. Side out of the way so we won't spill anywhere. All right, so we have all that there. Let me go ahead and just grab like a Sharpie. Let me just grab like a normal pen that I usually use, and then I will grab, maybe the monolines never do good on paper. I'm like, you know what, we're doing a paper test. We're using all fountain pen inks here and just beautiful inks. I love all these guys. Let's see how the other things do. I do also just like to see how the regular ink works on here. So this is my normal Uniball Signo DX, just my daily driver. Nice and smooth. All right, we'll do one of the state liners. This is the 0.5. Nice and smooth for that. We'll go a bit bigger. This is the Faber-Castell Pit Artist in the 1.5. And then just for fun, Sharpie. I feel like I want to put a piece of paper underneath of here because I know that it's probably gonna maybe go through the paper. We'll see just how well this paper does. And that's all I'm gonna do. I just feel like that's enough. Because if fountain pens are working on here and ink and some of these other ones, we're overall in a good spot. So let's go ahead and check it out and see how the 80 GSM German blocker paper does. All right, so actually did really pretty good. I'm looking at it. So just to kind of remind you what we did here, the Lamy was here. You can barely see that on the other side of this paper. A little tiny bit of ghosting, but ever so slight. This one here was coming out of that Lamy pen with the cobalt ink. So I think that it's just how much ink flows out of that pen that is causing that to actually bleed through. Because then when we used the calligraphy, the B5 nib with that same ink, it didn't do that at all right over here. So just kind of the normal kind of ghosting. So I think it has to do with the pen and how much ink it's coming out that it's doing that. But then when we did the Midnight Twinkle and we did the fluid liner, all of those that are here are really great. The only thing that bled through was the Sharpie, that always does, but it didn't bleed through onto, well, I saved myself a little bit, but it didn't bleed through onto this other at all. So it held on there, it just didn't bleed all the way through. So really great paper, actually. So this is pretty neat. This is smaller than an A5, so if you're looking for a journal to use, whether it's a bullet journal or, in this case, I mean, this would be a beautiful journal just to write in, especially knowing that you can use fountain pens for the most part, right? And fountain pen inks and get, you know, a lot of diversity with like your lettering and the different inks and things you use. It held up beautifully. So I definitely think that this Papermind paper, it is here. It is doing great work. It's only 80 GSM and it held up like that compared to something like a Leuchtturm or something else that would totally ghost like very badly and bleed through it. So it just kind of shows you the difference between, you know, this blocker paper, for instance. Actually, let me grab it real quick just to show the difference, I think. This is like my first bullet journal here, and I had some extra pages in the back, as you can see. I was just trying different things because, you know, when you have those extra pages, you want to kind of just do stuff. But let's grab the Lamy here. So So just to show you the difference here, this is the Leuchtturm paper, which I believe is 80 GSM in this first one here. So we use the Lamy pen, which is the same one we used up here at the top. And you can see that not only it ghosted badly, but it also kind of bled a little bit on the ends. And then we used the same nib here with that Lavender Cobalt Blue as we did here. And you can see the comparison of just not bleeding through. And you can see the comparison here of some barely ghosting versus pretty apparent ghosting. So this is just the difference between those papers, and it really does make a big difference at the end of the day of where it is.
I love being able to do these pen tests and try out different notebooks. In my own experience, finding the right notebook has been so incredibly hard. There are so many options out there, all of them touting different features that they do better than the others. And I love that with the Papermind, they're not focused on creating different versions or different covers or anything like that. They're really focused on finding amazing paper and just producing great notebooks to really enjoy writing with fountain pens or any type of pen inside of their notebooks. Make sure that you head over to thepapermind.com and of course check them out on social media as well, and just take a look at all of their offers and find something that you're interested in. I love doing these videos because I really love hearing from you if these are helpful or not. So if you like the features of this notebook, if you think that it might be something that you're interested in taking a look at, or if you've ever tried the Papermind before, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you and your experiences of working along with this notebook. Now, if you liked this notebook review, I think you're gonna absolutely love this playlist here where we check out other notebooks, their features, and if they're the right notebook for what you're looking for. I'll chat with you very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day and happy planning.